in less than 5 minutes, tell this committee who you are, your background, your education, and why you think you are suitable to hold office for which you have been nominated.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the nominating committee. First and foremost, before I start, Mr. Chairman, let me just say that I want to say thank you. First, I would like to say thank you to God indeed, because that is why He is why we are here today. Secondly, I wish to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President, for this appointment or nomination, which I hope will be approved by this committee. Thirdly, Mr. Chairman, I very briefly will say that, as I said, my name is Mutahi Kagwe. I was born in Nyeri County. And Mr. Chairman, if you allow, as I go along, I will give the reasons. I will tie up the reasons why I think I'm suitable for this job with my background. I went to primary school in a rural school in Nyeri, and I think that is where I started the journey to this discussion here today. Most of you will remember that in primary schools, or some of you will remember that in primary schools, we used to have what was called the 4K club. The 4K club is where we started our farming. Some of us went there. And Mr. Chairman, if you remember, the 4K clubs introduced us to agriculture. And that's why I picked my talent of planting trees and so on. Mr. Chairman, in my primary school, what we did, I lived a rural primary school life where we did a lot of work in coffee. I have carried coffee on my backside to take it to the factories. First in Ishamara, if anybody knows the place, in Nyeri. We have spent our school holidays in coffee factories where we were drying the coffee beans and so on and so forth.
You know what 4K meant?
Kuungana, kufanya, kuungana, kufanya,
kuungana, kufanya, kusaidia Kenya.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and I was a member of that, and you two are a member. Yeah, that's what it meant. And Mr. Chairman,
Majority Leader did know that.
Yeah.
I think he went to school when 4K was dead.
Probably. But it is one of the things perhaps we should think about reviving as we go along. Mr. Chairman, I then went to Kagwe High School, where I studied for 6 years. But in the course of my studies too, I was a member of the agricultural club in the school. And it is through the agricultural club in the school that we actually started eating eggs at Kagwe High School, because it is how we started the school poultry project. And I remember distinctly Mr. Gisheru, who was our teacher, leading that whole project, and just emphasizing to us the importance of agriculture at the time. But I was successful in Kagwe High School, and I went to the University of Nairobi, where, as you graciously acknowledged, Mr. Chairman, we were in school together, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in commerce. And I want to talk about that commerce degree, Mr. Chairman, because a degree in commerce prepares you generally for business management. May it be the business in public or business in the private sector. And my education was rounded enough so that in the course of my career, as I left university, in the course of my career, I have managed very different businesses, both in public and private life. I also went on, Mr. Chairman, to do a master's degree at USIU, again in business administration, a master's in business administration, emphasizing my studies more in management information systems as well as finance. Mr. Chairman, during this time, I did my master's when I was working, but I started off my working career at an interesting small place called Mashambani Magazine. Mashambani Magazine was a magazine published by trend publishers, which was about farming. And I later, in my capacity as a marketing manager of that company, closed Mashambani Magazine and replaced it with Farmer's Voice. The Farmer's Voice magazine, which I worked for, was actually the KFA magazine. Those of you who remember, the Kenya Farmers Association is the one that owned the Farmer's Voice, which I published and ran for 2 years. So again, Mr. Speaker, that's why I said the journey that I'm going to explain has gone on to attach me to this interview here today. Of course, I would never have foreseen that this was going to happen. So, Mr. Speaker, having finished my education, I went on to run Trend Publishers, which was Viva, better known as Viva Magazine. I left Viva Magazine and joined the Standard Newspaper Group as advertising manager, followed on where I rose in the group, which was then owned by Lonro East Africa, to become the commercial operations director. Following my 11 years as an employee of Lonro, I then branched out on my own to start my own businesses. And since then, that is what I have been doing in my private life, running businesses over that period since the year 1992, when I left former employment. Mr. Chairman, after that, during my period, in the year 2002, I ran for office. I felt that having done being educated, having then gone on to develop a successful career, I felt that I should do some public work and serve the people. And I went to Mukurweini constituency, where I ran for office and was elected in 2002 as a member of parliament for Mukurweini constituency. In the course of that, you remember, Mr. Chairman, that at that time, cabinet secretaries, cabinet ministers were also appointed from the parliament. And I was appointed as the Minister for Information and Communications in the year 2005. I served as Minister for Information and Communication, and I can say that it is one of my most exciting times. And in terms of preparing me for, again, going back to the cabinet as CS for agriculture and livestock, that's where I cut my teeth in that space of understanding government, being clear about the roles that the different arms of government play, being clear about the role of cabinet, collective responsibility, and other aspects that you learn as you do these jobs. I then, in 2007, I lost my position as member of parliament, but then I was appointed by His Excellency, late President Kibaki, to be chairman of the Multimedia University Council. I was the first chairman of that university and laid the foundation of what is now perhaps a uniquely placed university in terms of the technology space and communication space. And again, I'm very proud of my work there and what we did. I then, Mr. Chairman, left.
Wind up.
I then, Mr. Chairman, went to back to Nyeri County, where I became the senator of Nyeri County. Followed after that by my appointment again back to the cabinet as the CS for health in 2019. And Mr. Chairman, all that experience that I have had, both my education, my experience in school, my experience in private sector, my experience as cabinet secretary and the Minister for Information, Cabinet Secretary for Health, have all, in my opinion, ably prepared me for this particular position.
Thank you. I'll invite members to put questions to you, starting with the Deputy Speaker.